Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here, and in preparation for the book Junkie Trials Readathon that's going to be occurring throughout the whole month of July, coming right up, I thought it'd be kind of fun to do a recommendation theme sort of video. And as I am on Team Outlaw here, as I sort of low-key just show off these Outlaw bookmarks. I promise that's the only plug for this video for those bookmarks. I do have one for each team, but yeah, I'll just leave it at that in the Etsy shop down below. But anyways, seeing as I am on Team Outlaw, I thought it'd be kind of fun to gather a bunch of books that are either like really gritty or outlaw or banditry sort of related, I guess, and just kind of just show some of my thoughts on those kind of books. I was gonna do kind of like some books for each of the locations on the Outlaw path towards the Bookie Grail. Unfortunately, 3 of the locations are very dependent on the individual that is actually participating. For example, with Crimson Peaks is to reread a favorite. I can't obviously just give you, I can give you like some recommendations of my favorites, I suppose, but that's definitely going to be more of a personalized sort of thing. Same thing for the Forgotten Forest, which is next in a series. Obviously, you're going to have to find something that you've already started and continue on and all that. And I will be doing a TBR of all 17 books that I'm going to try and do in the month of July for the Quest Champion as part of the Readathon. But yeah, that's what I mean. So those 2 I can't really reveal too much. I guess I could just like tell you what I'm going to be doing. But one's a history book for the reread a favorite. It's like one of my favorite history books. You'll find that out tomorrow or maybe the day after tomorrow. Well, depending on when this actually gets uploaded, we'll see. And the next in the series for me is going to be Guns of Empire here, which is the 4th book in the Shadow Campaign series by Jacob Wexler, but I'll talk more about that one in that video. And Queendom Stone is a book featuring royalty. There are definitely plenty of books regarding that, both fiction and nonfiction. So the only one I'll give a couple on is the 4th location, which is the Weeping Falls, which is to read a book, like a tearjerker book. So something that's going to get the emotions flowing pretty good. I had one really good fantasy one that I thought tied in really well with the Outlaw path, and it's The Children of Húrin by J.R.R. Tolkien. And this is a tale of the first age of one of the children of Húrin named Turin, known as Turambar. And the reason this fits in so well with the Outlaw path is that for a short while, one of the main characters in this book is actually a literal bandit captain, like an outlaw captain of a bunch of pretty much thugs, essentially. So it's basically Robin Hood, but not quite as good. Kind of very more like on the neutralish side between good and evil, as sort of that outlaw captain. But it's also a very tragic tale. This is like legit tragedy. It's like Tolkien meets tragedy. Just like really hardcore. Definitely would classify as a tearjerker for a fantasy read. And a lot of my other fantasy, I can't really consider tearjerkers, at least the ones that I've read. So unfortunately, I don't have any recommendations on that. There are some science-ish books, mostly on like animal species that are like, you know, endangered or pretty much extinct and stuff that are really sad as well. The book that I'm actually going to be reading as the book for that challenge is Silent Night by Stanley Weintraub, and this is a book dealing with the Christmas truce of 1914, which during the first winter of World War I, on the essentially when the trenches were starting to form and the sides were sort of demarcated and everything, during Christmas Day 1914, pretty much almost all the gunfire on the Western Front sort of stopped, and Christmas carols were sung by both sides. Essentially, there was almost like a competition where the English would sing, and then followed by like a German version of a Christmas carol as well, and it kind of just went on and that's kind of really fun. Also, there might have been soccer matches in between the front line, or in no man's land going on, which is really cool. Plus, a lot of the troops from both sides sort of fraternized and kind of exchanged gifts, things like that. And it's just a really poignant, really just, I don't know, just it's going to be a kind of an emotional one, because I do study World War One. It's one of the only topics in the modern-ish age that I read about quite a bit. In the carnage and just like sorrow on the Western Front really, I don't know, you can't really explain it, I don't think. So to see, especially at the beginning of the war, how the average soldier on the ground on both sides, how they were able to come together, they really didn't have much against each other on a personal level, anything like that. So it's just interesting to see sort of how they basically got along, and just were like regular people, despite like all the just fighting and suffering that was going on around them the rest of the time. So yeah, that's why I'm going with Silent Night. Alright, so now we got that out of the way, I just want to go through some of my mostly fantasy and then a couple nonfiction works that have quite a bit to do with either banditry or outlawry. I just thought they'd fit really good sort of with the outlaw theme going on. So let's just get started. And these are, I think the fantasy books are going to essentially be in no particular, or it's going to be in alphabetical order, so not order of like, favorite to least favorite or anything like that. The first one's going to be Dawn and Damnation by Clark Casey. And if you cannot tell by the cover, it's a weird western or a paranormal western. Tons of bandits, tons of gunslingers, definitely paranormal elements, vampires, werewolves. They're in essentially purgatory for the Wild West. So yeah, if that doesn't say anything for like outlaws, so this is essentially the haven for outlaws when they die. So it's just a really interesting kind of pulpy in a good way, just weird western. Definitely check it out if you like western themes of cowboys, anything like that, mixed with fantasy. Next up is Glenn Cook's Chronicles of the Black Company. This is definitely really gritty. I want all the Black Company as like a mercenary company. It's not technically, they're not outlaws technically, but pretty much for anyone who's not paying for their services would probably consider them as just a bunch of like, thugs and outlaws, just, all united under like one banner. It's really, I don't know, it's just really gritty, really grimdark. I highly enjoy like the setting and the atmosphere. They're just sort of the really gray bleakness of pretty much everything in this whole like universe. Main character Croker, his point of view is just really terse, really funny. Just like his very dry sense of humor is really good. I highly enjoy it, and I'm going to be reading, I think, the fourth book for the Orc Grove Challenge, I do believe. Alright, next up is The Princess Bride by William Goldman. This one is pretty much self-explanatory with the characters involved, considering you have, a group that basically kidnaps Princess Buttercup, you got pirates and everything, and then you got like sort of the abandonment, and then the recapture. It's kind of, if you guys know The Princess Bride, you obviously will understand why this one works pretty well with the outlaw theme. Alright, next up we have Conan the Barbarian, and I think this one works really well because half of the time Conan is like just like a low-level mercenary captain, or he's essentially a just lone wolf outlaw bandit person. Sometimes he's a pirate captain, sometimes he's a literal thief and rogue, for example like Rogues in the Night and Tower of the Elephant being like a really, really cool just sort of out there very just interesting Conan story by Howard. And in that one in particular, he's essentially being like a total rogue trying to steal an object and stuff. So it definitely fits like kind of the outlaw theme. And then some of the later works written after the original Howard stuff, we got like, Conan the Outcast and like Conan the Rebel, especially Conan the Rebel when he's dealing with being a like sort of, second in command as like a pirate captain and stuff. Definitely fits the outlaw theme in my book, I think. Plus they're just kind of fun, quick reads. If you like sort of sword and sorcery, kind of that pulpy, just like goodness for fantasy. And in the pretty much the same vein, you have Fritz Leiber's Fafhrd and the Grey Mauser Tales. You have Fafhrd, who is sort of like this giant barbarian, and you got the Grey Mauser, who's kind of like a low level kind of thug magician, who's also like a rogue and a thief and like a really good swordsman. And they it's kind of like Conan. It's very sword and sorcery, and they kind of just get into trouble doing their sort of misadventures and stuff, and it's a lot of fun. Alright, and next up, for the Outlaw theme, we have Scott Lynch's Gentleman Bastard series. This is the third book, but the first book is The Lies of Locke Lamore. And in every book, they play out like either a large con or a heist, something like that. And it's essentially, you know, Locke and Jean in particular are just two, you know, really, really good friends who carry out these like really elaborate schemes to either take advantage of someone or steal something, or, you know, just try to advance their own cause to be these really just over the top plans. And it's just a whole lot of fun if you like rogues, stuff like that. Definitely fits the Outlaw theme. Alright, and let's see, I already talked about Children of Hurin. So let's go on to a couple of non-fiction books that I think kind of fit. I'm kind of, you know me with nonfiction, it's like over half my reading. So I try to find something for kind of like outlawry. And we're gonna go with The Spartacus War by Barry Strauss. And I think this one kind of fits because, you know, after Spartacus and Crixus and Ananias sort of break out of bondage and lead the Third Servile Revolt, essentially they become outlaws according to the Roman Republic. Obviously they're fighting for freedom and stuff, but for the status quo at the time, they were outlaws. So I thought it'd be kind of a neat take on sort of the outlaw theme, just to learn more about Spartacus. So this is by Barry Strauss. I don't know, I've read 3 of his works so far now, and it's one was really good, one was kind of in the middle, and then one I didn't really like so much. So I have no idea how good this one in particular is going to be. I hope it ends up being good. I'm not going to be reading this one for the readathon, but I thought for a Roman history, this would be kind of a neat way to incorporate sort of an outlaw theme with Roman history. So, in a similar vein, for medieval history dealing with outlawry, I'm going with Summer of Blood, England's First Revolution by Dan Jones. Dan Jones is a popular historian. He's written like a book on the Plantagenets, and I think a book on like the Templars, a couple other books as well. But anyways, Summer of Blood is dealing with the Peasants' Revolt of 1381, which is a giant revolt and uprising of the lower classes in England, where they did storm London, burned part of the city, killed like the exchequer and I think the archbishop and stuff, essentially because they were pretty much tired of dealing with the government's ineptitude dealing with sort of like wages and taxes and stuff during like the 100 Years' War. Plus, after the Black Death, their labor became much more was profitable. It was worth a lot more at the time, since there was a manpower shortage. However, the government tried to reduce the level they could actually ask for like a daily wage and stuff, which did not settle very well, and neither did like basically poll taxes, things like that. But anyways, so when you have a giant insurrection of like the peasants and stuff, I would definitely think what was it, Richard the Second. He probably definitely viewed Richard II and his court probably reviewed the uprising peasants as outlaws for sure. But like I said, I think it's kind of a good take on sort of medieval outlawry, but for almost like a noble cause. So it's a really interesting topic in medieval history. If you guys have ever studied the Peasants' Revolt, if you haven't, I encourage you to do so. And then for one last book, which I don't know how it doesn't fit the bill, is, I don't know if you can see that if the lights are too bright on that, but it's Medieval Outlaws, 10 Tales in Modern English. It is literally just a book of short stories from the primary sources dealing with outlaws in medieval history, basically, which is really cool. It's edited by Thomas Algren, and just some of the ones that are, like some of the stories: The Outlawry of Earl Godwin, The Deeds of Hereward, Eustace the Monk, The Outlaw Song of Trailbiston, Falk Fitzwarren, The Tale of Gamelin, The Saga of Anne Bowbender, A Jest of Robin Hood, Adam Bell, and The Acts and Deeds of Sir William Wallace. So I thought this was like a really cool idea. I might actually try to swap this out for one of my other ones, if I can fit in one of the challenges somewhere, just because it is like the perfect book to go with the outlaw path on this sort of medieval-ish readathon. So there you guys have it. Those are some of the books. I just thought it kind of fit like outlawry and banditry really well. Tell me what you guys think of these ones, if you've never heard of them, or if you've heard of them before. Tell me what you guys think. Also, tell me what your favorite first what your favorite book you're going to be reading for this readathon if you're participating, what it's going to be in the month of July, and also just tell me a book that you think would fit well with sort of the outlaw class or the outlaw sort of theme going on, obviously for people who are outlaws participating in the readathon. So yeah, tell me what you guys think about that, and just always remember, whether you're reading outlaws or bandits, anything like that, always remember, read victoriously.